Hey y'all, happy Friday. Hello. So, hopefully you saw the title somewhere. Today we're going to talk about sacrificing for love, but first we're going to let Instagram earn her paycheck today. Do her job and let y'all know your girl is here. Hello. Welcome in. Happy Friday. Yes. So I put something in my stories a little bit about this. So if y'all saw my stories already, then you know, hey girl, hey, then you know where I'm going with this. Okay. We're talking about when we are sacrificing in order to keep relationships or in order to receive love, and basically how that's not good for you. So in my stories, I was using the metaphor of the Disney Pixar movie Moana. I don't know if y'all have ever seen it. I love me a good Disney Pixar movie. Okay, I'm a whole big kid. But what I love in that movie is how we basically learn about Moana's journey, essentially back to herself, because she's got like this big responsibility of taking over, being the leader of her village and all that. And there's sort of like parallel things happening, but the part that I like to get to is actually like the end of the movie. So there are spoilers. I'm telling you right now, if you don't want the movie to be spoiled for you, you don't need to watch this, okay? And I didn't give that warning until the end in my stories. So yes, if you have not seen Moana, jump off now. I'm warning you now, okay? Because I'm giving the spoilers. So the two characters that I want to talk about from the movie that relates to sacrificing for love, is the two characters Taka and Tafiti. So Taka is that fiery one, and then Tafiti is the, earth goddess, abundant looking one, right? With all the greenery and stuff. Essentially, that's the one that looks like Moana, right? So what we're talking about, y'all, is when we have been hurt, all right? And so y'all know that my clients are women that have been hurt through infidelity. So they've been cheated on and they've been betrayed, right? So in this situation of the movie, you have Maui, right? This is the character that's played by The Rock, okay? This is the Samoan. He's got the tattoos. He's got the muscles. He's got the long hair. Like all the things that we might like to see in a partner, right? Just fine, attractive, right? We all have had that experience of that kind of person in our life that we have fallen for. Now, in the movie, this character, Maui, steals the heart of Tafiti for his own selfish gain, his own selfish reasons, right? So if we take that metaphor and we apply it to like real life, right? We've all dealt with that partner that stole our hearts, right? We really fell for this person. We trusted them. We built this bond and connection with them. And they hurt us. They betray us, right? All betrayal begins with trust. You don't have betrayal if there first wasn't trust. So that's something I like to point out to my clients, that when we're talking about betrayal trauma, this isn't like some random associate. This is a significant relationship. This is a big deal. So tying it back to the movie, this character, Maui, steals the heart of Tafiti. Now, for the majority of the movie, you do not know that Tafiti and Taka are the same character, okay? But I like to bring them up because I want to show y'all that when we experience trauma, when we experience hurt, we often become a different person. We are disconnected from who we are. And here's why. Okay, our brains are not created to make us happy, okay? Our brains are here to help us to survive, okay? To thrive. And so our minds are going to require us to get rid of anything that doesn't help us to survive and to thrive optimally, to be able to operate at our best self, right? So when we experience a trauma, when we're cheated on, when our heart is broken, our mind begins to compute, right? Because it's basically like a little computer, and it's trying to figure out what the hell got us into this situation and how do we fix it. Unfortunately, the majority of us internalize that. So we will immediately think something is wrong with us. So what we do is we give up any parts of us, any parts of our personalities that we believe contributed to us getting hurt. It's a protection mechanism, right? So we get hurt, we say, oh, I was too soft, I was too vulnerable, I was too this, I was too that. And whatever those parts of our personality that we feel like contributed got to go. We suppress it, we repress it, right? So tying this in with the movie Moana, that's how Taka was born, okay? Because her heart was stolen, she's hurt. And so this fiery, aggressive character is birthed from that trauma, from that hurt of having her heart stolen. And a lot of us experience that as well. We take on this persona and we become whoever we need to be in order to protect ourselves from getting hurt again. Our brain says, what do we need to do to prevent ourselves from getting hurt? Because if we're hurt, we are depressed, we're laying around, we're not operating optimally, okay? So our brain is gonna say, okay, we gotta fix this because the brain's job is to make sure you're surviving, okay? It has nothing to do with you being happy, right? So that is why we do that. That is why after heartbreak, we end up becoming somebody that we don't recognize. And so essentially there's a sacrifice that has taken place. We have sacrificed the version of ourselves that we believed contributed to our hurt. We suppressed it, we repress it. That's what ends up becoming the shadow work, y'all, eventually, is the journey to retrieve those parts of ourselves that we sacrificed and that we gave up. But keeping along with the story, right? So now here's Taka. Taka is fiery. She is aggressive. She doesn't even recognize herself. A lot of us don't recognize the people that we become in response to the traumas that we have experienced, unfortunately. And so we walk around thinking that we're this person when really we're not. That person is just the response to the trauma that we've experienced. And the ancient shamans even define trauma as a fracturing of the soul. You really do get disconnected from who you are. So when we're talking about healing from betrayal trauma, healing comes from the Greek term holos, which means to be whole. And in order to be whole, if you're healing, that means that you must have been broken. Something has fractured you, shattered your experience. So our healing journeys are a process of restoration. And what happens in the Disney movie is that Moana goes on this journey. She's met with the spirit guide of her grandmother that even helps her on this journey. So our higher powers, right, that come and help us on our journey. And essentially, she is going to restore the heart of Te Fiti, because Te Fiti being in her broken state, which is Taka, is we're starting to see the consequences and the ramifications, the symptoms of that hurt. This is what happens when we're not healed. So if you've seen the movie, you know that the fish are dying, the vegetation on their island is all dead, like they're not thriving as a community. So that symbolizes what happens to us when we do not heal our traumas, okay? We think we're okay. We think this persona, this Taka persona that we've taken on is who we are, and it's not. So Moana goes on this journey to get back to herself, right? And on this journey, like I said, she's met with her guides that are going to help her. She even meets up with Maui to say, you gotta fix what was broken. Now that's the part that is different as far as the movie and what I believe is necessary for the healing journey. With my coaching, you don't need closure from your ex to move on, okay? But anyway, sticking with the movie, it gets to the point to where Moana comes face to face with this fiery, aggressive, this hurt, broken version of Te Fiti, okay? But, you know, in the movie, she's Taka. The broken part is Taka. So she's sick of Taka. We gotta defeat this person because Maui has got to restore the heart, okay? So she sees Taka from afar, and at this point, she realizes what she has to do, because most of the journey, she's trying to figure out what's the problem here. So once she realizes what she has to do, she has the heart of Te Fiti in her hand, and she holds it up, and she says to the ocean, because she has a relationship with the ocean, she says to the ocean, let her come to me. And immediately in that moment, the ocean splits, and this monstrous, aggressive version of Taka is coming at her. I mean, and you feel all the feels like, oh my gosh. This is a metaphor for facing our demons, okay? And she comes to her and she says, this is not who you are. I know, meaning the inner you, the real you, that higher self, that knows who you are. So that's what she says to Taka. And it stops Taka in its tracks. And what I like to speak on here is vulnerability, because Moana's approach had to come from a place of love. It had to come from a place of willing to just say, I see past all of this ruckus. You having this hot girl summer and Tina Snow winter. You doing all this rebound dating. You putting up these walls like can't nobody get to you. You putting your standards up so high that no partner can ever meet because you're really afraid to love again. You doing all this people pleasing because you think you have to become somebody else in order to feel like you're enough and to feel like you're loved. All of that, Moana is saying, I see past that. I see a hurt little girl that has been wounded and is just looking for somebody to love her, looking for somebody to care for her. Y'all, that part of Moana, that's what I do for my clients, okay? Because it's about getting in a safe space. And I've been talking to y'all this week about our environment, the environments that we're in on our healing journey matters. Because if you're not in a space that is conducive to growth, a space that allows you to be vulnerable, that supports you being able to heal, then you're not going to be able to. So getting in a place of vulnerability is necessary. Moana stopped Taka dead in her tracks because she essentially held up a mirror and reflection to say, I know you and this ain't you. Let me help you. And Taka calms down and their foreheads touch. It's a beautiful scene, y'all, in the movie. And Taka allows Moana to restore her heart. And as soon as the heart is restored, Taka cracks. That hard shell that she had been wearing, these harsh personas that we've had, will crack. And then Te Fiti emerges because she's been restored to her true self. Remember, the etymology of healing is restoration. It's wholeness. So now she's no longer broken. And that is the case with a lot of you. That is a very symbolic of your journey. Y'all know I be having my notes over here. So let me just make sure I touched everything. I try not to make the lives too long so that y'all will be enticed to actually watch them. But I think I hit on everything. Yeah, the impact of how we lose ourselves in our relationships sometimes, and we feel like we're at this tug of war. I'm sorry, y'all. This notification just keeps on going off. Try not to pay no attention to it. But we can easily lose ourselves in relationships because at the end of the day, and I did a reel on this too, y'all. Y'all have to catch up, okay, on the reels because I be teaching, okay? There are two basic fundamental needs that all human beings have. And those two things are attachment and authenticity. Attachment is our relationships, it's love, being in proximity to others and having a social life. Authenticity is being who we are. So whenever we are faced with trauma or a situation where essentially the two fundamental things that we need to survive are actually at war with each other, or they seem to threaten each other, like you can't have both, the majority of us are going to sacrifice our authenticity every single time. And we sacrifice it because we want the love, we want the connection. So imagine how this works in childhood, right? If your caregivers are who you depend on for love, for nurturance, to take care of your needs, and you're being criticized by them, or you're being made to believe that who you are being, your behavior, who you are is unacceptable, what are you going to do? You're going to give up that part of you. You're going to sacrifice that aspect of who you are because you need their nurturance. You need their love. You're dependent on them, right? And so that's why we're willing to sacrifice ourselves for our attachments, for our relationships. But the problem is that sacrifice comes at a very expensive cost. And that cost is us being who we are. Remember, authenticity, being who we are, is one of the fundamental needs we need in life. That's why people have existential crisis by the time they get in their midlife years, because they're not feeling fulfilled. They don't understand what their purpose is in life. They're confused. And a lot of that is because they've slowly but surely, as they've experienced life, they've given up those aspects of themselves because they thought they had to in order to get love and affection, to be accepted. We want community, y'all. We need community. So don't think it's some small thing when we're talking about sacrificing ourselves in relationships. It's a big deal. And unfortunately, it's a cost that we pay that we don't realize the consequences of that sacrifice until much later. When we are disconnected from ourselves, when we don't know ourselves, we don't know what we like, because we've become who everybody else wanted us to be, to get this love, to get this acceptance, to feel affection, because we all need it. So it's really a big deal, y'all. And a lot of us navigate through life not thinking it's a big deal until we hit crisis mode and we're trying to figure out, how the hell did we get here? How do we get in this predicament? Why am I so unhappy? Well, because you've been pretending to be somebody else for a long time, to keep family relationships, to keep romantic relationships, to keep friendships. And at what cost, though? What did it cost you? How is it still costing you? So yeah, that's a big deal. Do y'all resonate with that? Let me know in the comments if this is something that sounds like it's familiar to you. And I have to say, it's not really our fault that we don't recognize it. When we think of betrayal trauma, betrayal is one of those terms that's often used in media. It's the theme of our favorite dramatic romance movies, love, sex, betrayal, like all of those things, right? And so we often don't consider betrayal as traumatic. But if you're a person that resonates with feeling like you have trust issues, if you're a person that feels like you have trust issues, well, what is betrayal? A violation of trust. So if you feel like you have trust issues, more than likely you've experienced a betrayal. But you just haven't recognized it as that because you didn't have that awareness. Nobody proposed it to you that way. You haven't seen that perspective. So you haven't thought to look at it that way. And a lot of things, when things that we experience are also unfortunately very common. So betrayal, getting cheated on, these are things that we see every day. Again, it's in everyday life. It's in our entertainment, our books, our movies, right? So sometimes when things are very common, we downplay the impact of them. We water it down because it's like, well, everybody deals with that. It's like high blood pressure or something. Oh yeah, that runs in the family. It's no big deal. Like we don't think that these diagnoses are a big deal because they're so common. And so when it gets to a point where something is very common, it just becomes acceptable as a part of society or as the life experience, right? And that's the issue. That's why we can have such a blind eye or a blind spot to this sort of trauma. And the thing is, when we're talking about betrayal, a violation of trust, what is trust? Trust is the belief that something is reliable and dependable for you, right? Like it's normal, 100%, and it's not normal, right? So when we have a violation of trust, we've experienced this betrayal. Why is that traumatic? Because you had the belief that this thing was reliable and dependable for you, and then it was taken away. That person that you depended on for emotional security, that person that was supposed to be your financial security, physical security, that person became the villain in your story. That's traumatic, y'all. And we don't recognize it because this type of trauma is psychological and emotional. So where's the evidence? How can you prove to somebody that you're hurting? How can you prove this kind of impact? Because that's the thing about trauma. You can have two people experience the same event and one person walks away hurt. That's the problem. You're trying to figure out how to prove to somebody that your heart is broken when you can't see it. How? This isn't a trauma like getting hurt. Getting in a car accident, physical traumas where people can physically see, okay, this person is hurt, so they have all this empathy for you and they can sympathize with your experience. But what happens when the trauma is hidden? Because it's in here and it's up here. It's so much harder to get somebody to see you and to resonate with you. And so we don't feel validated in our experiences. And so we don't talk about it. We suffer in silence because we don't think anybody gets us. You see what I'm saying? So that's why coaching, therapy, being in an environment that is safe for you to heal is so very important. Okay? Because you need to be around somebody that's been through what you've been through, or that can help explain to you and give you the vocabulary and the language that you can associate with what you've been through. And again, a lot of you will say you have trust issues, but you don't define it as betrayal. You see what I'm saying? Yet, if you go to church or you're in a religious setting, we can all talk about Judas. We recognize that betrayal and how awful that was. What did it cost all the disciples, right? When Judas did that thing? Well, Jesus lost his life. Hello, betrayal is a big deal, y'all. Yes, exactly. It's a big deal, but it's also very common. And that's why we don't give it the attention that we think we should, because we've unfortunately normalized this very awful thing. So that's what my coaching helps with, y'all. I'm going to definitely save this live. Like I said, I did drop a reel on this. I've been talking about this. If you want to talk to me more about this, definitely hit me up, shoot me a DM. It's always private conversations just between us. Comment below if you resonate with this. Y'all share this video with somebody. Once I end the live, it'll take a second for it to process and for me to save it on my page. But if you know somebody that can benefit from this, you resonate with this, y'all share it for your girl, okay? I appreciate y'all watching. I'm glad that you resonate with this. I'm gonna leave it right here, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye, y'all.